to the government. In Islam, the leader's action toward his people must be based on consideration on common prosperity. تصرف الإمام على الرعية منعوت بالمصلحة. This is the rule of fiqh that often campaigned by Al-Marhum Kustur. In Pancasila itself, it's explained that we are, people of Indonesia, are living under the democratic system, which use the principle of musyawarah, principle of consultation. But how do we voice our opinion in order to fight for common prosperity if criticism can actually land us in prison? How? We know that you don't love this country, but at least don't break the system of democracy in this country. Lastly, I would like to say to you, a couple of days ago, I got a news that you, who representative for us in legislature, proposed to replace the curtains of your official houses for a fantastic amount of money of 48.7 billion rupiah, and you also proposed to replace the paving road around the place where you work at for 11 billion rupiah. Hey, then what about millions of people in this country who were in trouble in meeting their daily needs? Do you really not think about them? In this context, it's quite relevant to remember the words of Al-Marhum Al-Maghfur Haji Hashim Ash'ari that Hubbul Watan min al-Iman, loving homeland is part of faith. Seeing your greedy behavior, I come to a conclusion that you are not only don't love this country, but you are also lack of faith. We know that you don't love this country, but at least don't kill us with your greedy. My brothers and sisters here, that open letter not for you, but for those who don't love this country. I'm sorry to deliver it very emotional because I love this country. I am imagining our heroes, our previous kiai, our previous ulama who was struggle for this country. Yalal Watan, Yalal Watan. Thank you very much for your supporting attention. That's all from me for our heroes, ulama and kiai. Al-Fatiha.
Okay, thank you. From your speech, I'm so sure that you are very love your country. But I have one question for you. Divinity is the only true God is one of our 5 principles. The question is, could you like to interpret it as a good Muslim?
I'm sorry, the question is believing in our only God.
Divinity is the only true God. Ketuhanan yang Maha Esa
Okay.
is one of our 5 principles. Could you like to interpret it as a good Muslim?
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas, we know that there is ayah, A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. And in many hadith of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in Arba'in an-Nawawiyah, the first hadith explained to us that about principle of Islam, Rukun Islam, that the first of Rukun Islam is belief to God. Okay, we have to believe in God because God has given us everything. To explain why do we should believe in God, just like that, imagine if we want to move this pandemic to the other side, there must be a process of it. I am pretty sure that in everything in the world there must be process on it. If we think more bigger, the process of building this hotel, there must be a process. In the process of creator of this earth, there must be a process. Who or who is behind that process? This is God. So I believe in God. Maybe like that. I'm sorry if it is incorrect.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, secondly,
Okay.
Allah said, وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا جَزَاءً بِمَا كَسَبَا نَكَالًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Translated in English.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا
Translate it in English.
Okay. I'll try. وَالسَّارِقُ, the thief.
No. Translate it out.
Okay. The thief, which is man, and the thief, which is woman, cut off two of their hands as the punishment for what they have done. What we have done, and Allah is the wise and the goodness. Sorry.
What is your opinion about this statement?
Okay. Sorry.
What's your opinion about this statement or this phrase?
Okay. My brothers and sisters, the problem of taking the other goods is the most important problem that a society must eradicate it from it. Why? Because it is not based on Islamic law. We are taught to maintain our sense of brotherhood, and the problem of corruption like that is not in line with our teaching.
Okay. The problem is you are saying thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your supporting attention. I am Ahmad Afif Abdul Safia from Pondok Pesantren Sunan Padanaran, Lampung. Thank you very much. Allahumma waffiq ila aqwamit thariq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Okay.
I have a question for you because I think it is important to know about your speech. It's good, but I think it's good. My question is very short. What is your point of view about the concept of how to clean the corruptions and the nepotism and injustice practice in our country, based on the practice of which was conducted by Prophet Muhammad SAW? Just short and short.
I'm sorry, actually I don't know what our Prophet Muhammad SAW did about how to eradicate that problem. But I know that in the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz, he was success in eradicating this problem by using the Prophet's law. It means that we are also able to eradicate it from our country. We just have a spirit.
Terima kasih. Selanjutnya peserta dengan nomor 004. Ya, tema untuk Anda adalah tema ke-9, yaitu demokrasi dan kepemimpinan. Waktu Anda 8 menit, kita mulai dari sekarang.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah, amma ba'd. Your Excellencies, to all the judges, honorable to all the committees, and dear happy ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, let's pray and give thanks to our God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala by saying Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, who has been giving us mercies and blessings, so we are able to carry out activities and worship with full of gratitude. Secondly, may salawat and salutation always be given to our Prophet Habibina wa Shafi'ina wa Qurrati A'yunina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi, who has carried us from the darkness to the lightness, namely Islamic religion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today is my great honor because I can stand in front of you all to deliver my speech. And in this good opportunity, I would like to deliver my speech about revitalization of democracy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you talk about democracy, in my opinion, democracy is the best form of government. Do you agree, ladies and gentlemen? Why is that so? Because in a democracy, people of country choose their government. They enjoy certain rights which are very essential for humans to live freely and happily. Democracy has withstood the test of time, and while other forms of government have failed, democracy stays so strong. It has time and again it's proved its importance and impact. Democracy also really important for human development, because people have free will to live freely, will be happier. Besides, we've seen how the other forms of government have turned out to be. Citizens aren't happy in monarchy or anarchy because they can vote, they can deliver this aspiration, and also mass media can express their opinion freely. Therefore, in Pancasila democracy, when making national policy decisions, prioritize deliberation consensus. This is according to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in An-Nahl verse 159. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim, fa'fu anhum wastaghfir lahum wa shawirhum fil amr, which means, so pardon them and ask Allah forgiveness for them and consult with them in conducting matters. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia's democracy currently seems to be stagnant, tends to be wild and excessive. So no wonder if there are many signs of democracy that are disobeyed by democratic advice. This is evidenced by the many cases of corruption, collusion, and nepotism. And actually, freedom as a distinctive symbol of democracy are actually creates anarchic and hedonistic behavior that are contrary to democracy itself. Currently, democracy is used to commit corruption. So, the corruption through democracy are appeared. Based on the data from the Indonesia Corruption Watch, show the cases of corruption in Indonesia in 2021 as many as 209 cases. I repeated, 209 cases. So tragic, ladies and gentlemen. From the many cases of corruption before, then arises a question. Do people really understand the true meaning of democracy? Or are they using democracy for a personal gain? I think previous data has answered this question. So no wonder if there are many unscrupulous people who budget funds arbitrarily. This is strongly opposed with the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in An-Nisa verse 29. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ya'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Meanwhile, in the political arena, power relations are littered with nepotism and transactional politics. So there are many policymakers are chosen not because of their credibility or ability, but through nepotism. So there are many policies are made by incompetent people. So the implementation of democratic system is not optimal. Besides, there are many cases of collusion in the government. Some people conspire to do an act that seems reasonable, but aims to gain profit by harming the other people. Collusion can lead to the existence of several inappropriate policies, which are beneficial to one person. It causes losses of the true meaning of democracy, and the true meaning of democracy is actually the government in the form of people. So the policies made must contribute to the benefit of people, from the people, by the people, and for the people. And then, from the many cases of corruption, collusion, and nepotism, the true meaning of democracy is weakened and even misused by people are actually understand democracy better, and even they are highly educated. Well, ladies and gentlemen, even though Democracy is not perfect and it has many weaknesses. As an Indonesian, we must not give up because democracy is still better than non-democracy. It was choices of our nation's founders. The democratic crisis that happened in our country occurs at the implementation level, not at the conceptual level anymore. So, as a young generation, come on, let's stick together to revitalize of democracy. So we have to think about how democratic system can be implemented optimally. So we have to balance between democracy and nomocracy. Democracy can't be realized without nomocracy or the rule of the law, because democracy is regulated and limited by the rule of law, while the law itself is determined through democracy means. It means that democracy and nomocracy are related to each other. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all of my speech. Thank you very much for your nice attention, and I kindly apologize for any mistake. See you next time in better situation. The last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your title is Democracy and Leadership, Kepemimpinan. But your focus to democracy. I want to just question. What do you think about non-Muslim leader that have to create leadership skill than Muslim with average leadership skill?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Okay. What do you think about non-Muslim leader that have great leadership skill than Muslim with average leadership skill?
Yes. Thank you very much for the question. I think the non-Muslim leader is not inappropriate with our Pancasila democracy, but one of the conditions to be a leader in Indonesia have to be Muslim. So I think the non-Muslim leader is not inappropriate in Indonesia. It's not inappropriate with the democratic system. And if there are non-Muslim leader, we can follow them just only about the worldly goals, not ukhrawi goals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tell me about khilafah in Indonesia. Khilafah. Khilafah.
Well, thank you very much for the question. I think Khilafah is the one of kind of government and ancient time in era of our Prophet Muhammad SAW. It's good because Khilafah run the government based on the value of Al-Quran. But if Khilafah applied in Indonesia, I think it's not appropriate because Indonesia is a democratic country, not Islamic country, which is the best of law from Indonesia is Pancasila, not Islamic law. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question for you. Just now, when I listened about your speech, okay, it was only your critics and about the weaknesses of the system of democracy in Indonesia, right? And then you have not explored yet about the offer of the ideal democracy in our country. My question is, what is your offer? What is your idea, your point of view about the ideal democracy in our country, Indonesia?
Okay, well, thank you very much for the question. I think my idea to optimize the implementation of democracy, we have to use our right to vote, and also we have to use our right to opinion. This is one of the kind to optimize the implementation of democracy. And if we choose, and if we use our right to vote in election, and if we choose. And if we use the right to vote based on the credibility or ability of the candidate leader, it can be good. So I think is the most important thing to optimize the democratic system is we have to use our rights, because Indonesia is a democratic system which is focused on benefit of people, from the people, by the people, for the people. So we have to use all of the rights. Thank you.
Okay, our big title today is about Islam, Quran, and democracy. I think you have to offer the ideal concept of democracy based on the values of the Quran itself, and also based on the values touched by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay, well,
A very short answer, please.
okay.
The values that we can take from the Quran and also from the presence of Prophet Muhammad about the ideal democracy. Please.
Well, thank you for the question. I think democracy and our Quran is like a coin. There have two parts. If one part is apart, it will not valuable. If it means that if we really implement the democracy, if we really implement the democratic system, the democratic value, it means we have to implement the value of the of our God in the Al Quran. And
Thank you very much. Barakallah.
thank you.
Baik, terima kasih untuk bersiap bersama berikutnya. Serta dengan nomor 005.
Can someone help me with this? Sorry guys.
Baik, jika Anda sudah siap, waktu Anda 8 menit, kita mulai dari sekarang. Oh iya, maaf. Belum dibacain. Temanya adalah tema ke-7, keseimbangan dan menjaga lingkungan hidup. Baik, waktu Anda 8 menit, kita mulai dari sekarang.
Respected judges and lovable audiences and all of everyone here and my friends in the table audiences, thank you so much for having me here. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praise be to Allah, the God who creates human beings and gives us all a chance together in this lovely place. Salawat and salam will always be sent to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who brought us from the darkness into the advanced growing technological era that we are currently facing today. Before I'm going to talk about how exactly this environmental issue is going, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Yuda Satria. I come from Amanatul Ummah, Institute Pesantren Ki Haji Abdul Halim. There is under control of Ki Haji Asep Saifuddin Halim, and I'm so proud to represent my campus and also my institute to be standing here. Second of all, I would like to say thank you to my mom and my dad at home. They're obviously watching me right now streaming on YouTube. And thank you to the judges who give me this opportunity until this final session. And last but not least, to my friends who always been such a really good cheerleaders since day one I joined these competitions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about one particular topic which is really interesting, but at the same time, not all of the youth are talking about that, on how actually we are controlling our nature, but at the same time, we also have to think about the balance of the nature, but at the same time, how actually the legislation passes the law, on how actually we also obey and also control the regulations to make sure that all the corporations is not going to pass about this kind of destructions that are happening worldwide. Let's see, corporations such as PT Gudang Garam, the corporations such as another PT, for instance, they are exploiting a lot of natural resources of Indonesia to make sure they get a lot of profit in the end of the day. This is exactly the thing that really correlates on how actually Islam do not endorse such kind of situations. We believe that the nature is exactly the thing that God created to us, Adam and also Hawa, on how actually they are going to be sent to make sure that the nature and as a counterfeitism is also going to be occurring in the whole world itself. And let's see what's happening in Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen, such as Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup, on how actually they regulate to make sure that these companies such as PT Gudang and all of those corporations regulates the law to make sure that they're not going to disrupt any environmental issues in Indonesia, for a particular issue, for instance. I believe this is really important for the youth to talk about this. What should we do to make sure, or at least to reduce? Because the research already told you that in the next 50 years, if you are not doing something about this issue, your next generation is not going to be able to feel the fresh air anymore. Let's see what's going on in Jakarta, for instance. The air pollution, everything is coming out, is already endangering the current human beings that lives in Jakarta right now. Let's simply say on how it's actually happening to Surabaya, for instance. This is very dangerous if you don't do something about it. Your next generation will not only feel the free air pollution, for instance, will not only feel the fresh air, for instance, because simply our current generations, our current lawmakers do not do something about that. So what should we do about this, on how actually the youth plays such a really important role today, on how actually we're not going to destruct every single human resources, or the environmental issue is not going to happen in the future. Number one, the youth should be standing in front to talk about this, because the youth plays such a really important role in the future to make sure our environmental issue is not going to happen. We should talk about this issue a lot. We should talk about this in a lot of social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and everything, and to make sure the other person, or the other people correlate and really aware about this issue. So other older people, for instance, really say that, oh yeah, this issue is really important for us to know, because if we're not doing something about it, in the next generation, we're not going to be able to see or to feel the fresh air, for instance. So there are a lot of destruction is going to happen in the future, such as a lot of natural disaster, such as earthquake, for instance, or a lot of landscape is going to happen. And this is really dangerous for these indigenous people to happen in the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. So we barely know that on how actually the God is creating a lot of environmental issues, but at the same time we know that this is not going to be stopping if we can do something about it in the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So what have we done so far to make sure that this issue is going to be upgoing and not just necessarily stagnant, to make sure that our next generation is also doing something about this? Number one, in the law, in the protocol of number 99, for instance, that has been amended before, on how actually we are going to reduce the activity of these corporations to make sure that they are going to reduce the carbonize, for instance, they are going to reduce the activity to make sure the pollution is not going to be massing the world or the current natural resources that we have, to make sure that we are going to feel the fresh air in itself. So in the end of the day, we are going to be able to make sure the next generation to have the feeling on how actually feel the fresh air. And the second regulation that we have done is that this is not basically regulations, but this is basically the movement or the campaign that we have done worldwide to make sure. Have you ever heard about Greta Thunberg, guys? Yes. Yeah, Greta Thunberg is a girl manifested by a lot of media to make sure this girl sounds a lot about climate change issues and environmental issues and so on and so forth. Because I believe that if we have a figure to make sure that we are going to have this figure to talk a lot about this, I think we are going to make a change in the end of the day. Because this is exactly what we do, to create the figures, to make sure that we are going to follow. We have someone to follow, to make sure that this is exactly the movement that are going to be spent by the youth instance in the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. And last regulations, but this is really important, but you have to take note of that, on how actually this is really important for all of people to know about this. It's the awareness on itself. So this is what's going on in natural disaster in Indonesia, because people think that, oh, there's a natural disaster happening in Bangka Belitung, for instance. People still think that, oh, this is because of just natural disasters. Or simply just by saying that the landscape of the ocean or in the sea, for instance, is going to be much more reducing. So the people who are going to, to work in that kind of area is going to be much more dangerous for them to do that. This is exactly the thing that we have to strike forward and to think about this a little bit more, right? Because number one, natural disaster happen because of the mass destructions of natural resources itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also the moment when you talk about how actually we are going to prevent this, these three regulations is exactly the thing that we have to do. Number one is that on how actually we are going to create a purpose for them, to make sure that these corporations are going to reduce their activity, to make sure that we're going to keep up about the next the next destruction is not going to be happen anymore. And second of all, let's talk about how actually we're going to create, on how actually the campaign that are going to be started by the youth to make sure that we are going to have this in the future is going to be upheld in the end of the day. And last but not least, to make sure that we have a figure such as Greta Thunberg, such as what I explained to you earlier, to make sure that we are going to have a figure that are followed by our youth or the other people, for instance, to make sure that we are going to create this kind of mass destruction is not going to happen in the future. I know that we are going ahead of how actually we're going to stop this kind of mass destruction, but at least we are doing something. At least we can do something about it by doing pursuing a lot of regulation, making a lot of campaigns, and talking a lot about this. So in the end of the day, we can help the next generation to not to face about the things that we're going to face, such as right now the air pollution and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I think that's all for my speech. Last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. As we know, that the carbon reduction should be done worldwide.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear your voice clearly.
Actually, the carbon reduction should be done worldwide. Otherwise, it will be not effective. Okay. So, what do you think? What's your opinion about China and the US that don't want to reduce their carbon level? So it seems that Indonesia should reduce, but other countries don't care about it. So what do you think about it?
Thank you for the question, sir. I think this environmental issue is not about the job of one particular nation, but this is about the job of every single country that lives in this earth. So if you say that China is doing that kind of protection or that superior country or advanced country doing that, meanwhile the other developing countries is not following that, I think we can do better in the future, because this environmental issue must be done by the world leaders worldwide, and also the individual actions should be matter to be taken in the very first place.
Thank you.
Okay, very good speech.
Thank you.
But there is no ayat or hadith. Okay,
You know what I will bring
please
in this.
recite one ayat or one hadith about the environment.
I only remember one ayat where Allah mentions that the creations of humans, the existence of humans in the world is only
It is not ayat. Recite ayat.
I forgot. I'm so sorry. I could not recite the ayat, but I know that that's exactly the thing that we're talking about in the verse.
Hadith. About hadith.
I can think of hadith right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, in Al-Baqarah, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ.
Sorry, sir. Can you repeat the question?
Translate it, sir. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ.
This ayat related to environment.
Yeah. I think that ayat talks about how actually.
Just translate it.
Oh, translate it. I don't know how to translate it. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Okay, I think you know.
Okay, thank you.
Baik, peserta berikutnya. Peserta dengan nomor B006, silakan. 006. Peserta dengan nomor B006. Panggilan pertama, Hendrik Sugianto dari Pondok Pesantren Mazraatul Lugo, Kediri. Panggilan kedua, untuk peserta dengan nomor B006 atas nama Enrik Sugianto. Sudah panggilan kedua ya, kita panggil panggilan ketiga untuk peserta B006 atas nama Enrik Sugianto. Ada. Baik, sesuai kesepakatan kita semua dan sudah dijelaskan bahwa pemanggilan 3 kali maka kita anggap gugur. Baik, kita lanjut peserta berikutnya dengan nomor B007. Ada? 007? Ya, silakan. Baik, untuk Anda tema yang dipilih adalah tema ketiga, yaitu cerdas bermedia. Anda sudah siap? Baik, waktu Anda 8 menit, kita mulai dari sekarang.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa kafa. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina al-Mustafa Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ahli sidqi wal wafa. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd. The honorable judges, the respected audience and everyone here, first of all, I would like to thank to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is because of His mercies and blessing, so we can attend and compare to this contest. Secondly, salawat and salam always be delivered to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has guided us from the darkness to this bright modern era that we live in today. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ahmad Mushaddad from Ra'udatul Quran Islamic Boarding School, standing in front of you all to deliver my speech. I hope you are all feeling as amazing as I am, even though I'm feeling a little bit nervous. But I'm not here to tell you about what I'm feeling. Instead, I'm here to inform you about an interesting topic, but it is also an important topic entitled Intelligent Use of Social Media. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is constantly evolving, including the way of communication. Everyone nowadays feel easily to communicate with each other. The area of Earth that reach more than 500 million quarter kilometers seem to shrink. The information circulates constantly. The social life shifts a lot to cyberspace. That is because the influence of social media. However, Islam has the principle that obligates every Muslim to do that kind of principle. What are they? Islam instructs the Muslim to make social media only as a tool, wasila, not a goal, ghaya. We should put that in our mind. Why? Because just like a knife, social media has also two sides, the positive side and negative side. The knife can be useful if it is used for cooking or anything else, but it is harmful if it is used for killing others. And so does social media. We should be aware about using social media. Because nowadays, we can harm other people only by reading in social media. Whereas our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi." Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali in his book Bidayatul Hidayah interpret about the meaning of lisan here. There are two types. The first type is that the tongue in the mouth and the tongue in the column, in the form of column. And column in a nowadays conditions, in a nowadays context, it can be interpreted as social media. Because as I said before, social media has two sides, so it is on our attitude, it is on our hand. Social media can be useful or not. Based on the above hadith, it is on our attitude how we become a good Muslim or not. So, ladies and gentlemen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Al-Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وابتغوا إليه الوسيلة وجاهدوا في سبيله لعلكم تتقون. We can broaden the meaning of wasila here. Wasila in this verse can be interpreted as the social media. How we use social media as a tool, and then for the good, as a lawyer, we should use social media to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion that we can take for this topic, the first one, as a Muslim, we should do what the principle of Islam, which is using social media just for wasila. And then, because of everything we do should be lillahi ta'ala, it means that we should use social media as a lawyer so that we can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think that is all from me. I do apologize if you found any mistakes for me. I hope you can take a lot of as much as benefit from my speech. والله الموفق إلى أقوام الطريق ثم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you so much for your speech. Good performance. I have one question for you. The question is, would you like to implement the 4 characters of our Prophet in using social media, especially for that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for yes, please. Thank you for the question. The benefit of social media. One of the benefit of social media is also how the da'i use it as the place of conveying religious understanding, conveying religious messages through any kind of social media. But what I see is that not all da'i, not all preacher know about that. So I think it is very useful if everyone nowadays use social media as a place of conveying educational messages, especially about enlightening Islam, that Islam is the religion that brings rahmatan lil alamin. Please.
Okay, the next is present once again verse 35 of Al-Ma'idah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
تعود
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا
أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وابتغوا إليه الوسيلة وجاهدوا في سبيله لعلكم تفلحون.
Yes, you said it. Okay, translate.
Yeah. Oh, the believers, ittaqullah, have a fear to Allah, wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasilah, and wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasilah, and I forgot about the meaning. Sorry.
Okay, never mind. Next. Okay, thanks for this.
Thank you.
Baik, terima kasih. Dilanjutkan peserta berikutnya B008 atas nama Nirwandi. Baik, tema yang Anda pilih adalah tema ke-8, yaitu tantangan dakwah di era digital. Sudah siap?
Thank you.
Waktu ada 8 menit, kita mulai dari sekarang.
One thing that this city always makes me impressed and amazed is how can Suro and Boyo become one word? I mean, in the history, they were fighting each other, right? Tom and Jerry have also been fighting for many years, or even for many decades. But they are still Tom and Jerry, not Tom Jerry. The cool thing is that this city can make Tom and can make Suro and Boyo come together. Surabaya. So I think it's kind of a reminder for all contestants that we are here not competing, but we are here collaborating for one work, one vision, and one goal to help Islam in Indonesia to design a better future. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Surabaya, for welcoming us. Thank you, Indonesia, for uniting us. And thank you, everyone, for having been here, for watching us. The Honorable all the judges, my special gratitude to the founder of Pesantren Cinta Rasulullah, Kiai Haji Ahmad Rifai, and my big appreciation to the Committee of National Sampai Speech Contest and the rest of the team for having set up this spectacular event together. And more importantly, our thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His blessings and mercies. All these happen. And salawat and salam always be delivered to our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for his effort. Islam came to us. And Your Excellency, Master of Ceremony, for this incredible opportunity. I'm Nirwandi from Pesantren Tinggi Makbirah, Bogor. Today, I'm here not only to do my speech, but to tell the world that Santri of Indonesia already have enough capability to be involved in this modern world. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about the challenges of digital era, we're talking about the media. The term media means many things to many people, but it ultimately encompasses everything we consume visually or through audio. The rise of podcasts, streaming, and the ever expanding expanse of online content has shifted the way we think about and consume our media. Ladies and gentlemen, we see changes every day, we change every day. Technology enables us to consume a different kind of content in every single minute, or more importantly, to create content. In the last 10 to 15 years, technology has changed human behavior more than ever, and it will change us even more in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, are we going to leave media? No, there is no way to separate our life from this media. Instead, we must figure out how to use this media in a smart way and profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, my smart people, with the existence of today's super duper sophisticated media has opened up a mass of opportunity for all of us, either to do good or to do bad. It depends on our hands. We are going to try this media too. But happily, ladies and gentlemen, our beloved Rasulullah SAW has advised us in one of his hadith, Man dalla ala khairin falahu mithlu ajri fa'ilih. Whoever, ladies and gentlemen, choose others a good or a way of guidance, he will get a reward like the reward of those who did. Smart people, ladies and gentlemen, is a huge opportunity for us as Muslims to use this media to gain and achieve the big reward on the day of resurrection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And especially these days, social media has been our second world. Are you guys agree? Yes. Social media is changing the way we are thinking. It's changing the way we communicate. It's changing the way we are perceived, both positively and negatively. Every time you post a photo or update your status, you are, ladies and gentlemen, already contributing to your own digital footprint or personal brand. And more importantly, you can share, you can introduce, you can promote, you can spread out the real image of Islam to the whole world, and you will be rewarded for what you did. My smart people, ladies and gentlemen, don't use social media to impress people. Use it to impact people. And whatever you want to be, either a YouTuber or Instagram influencer like today's, or even a TikToker, whatever. But I just want to remind you all, be smart enough on how we can play to this media to get big reward and make big profit for both your life in today's world and your life after this world, which is akhirah. That's the most important one. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, good speech.
Thank you.
You talked about being smart in using media or the challenges of Islamic preaching.
Yes.
Which one?
I mean, because I'm thinking like smart and challenging, it kind of similar. Because like this, if we're using media today, because media has two edge of with like both positive and negative things, and it's really changing us how we can use the positive side of social media and we leave the negative side.
Yes, that's okay. But I think there should be a context that related to how to use the social media or use media in preaching Islam to the people. This is the point.
Yes.
Okay? Okay, I think in Barakallahu.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, next question. What's the best method for da'wah?
The best way for da'wah
Yeah.
for this day, because we live in today's modern world, the digital era, we have a very sophisticated media. To reach more people, I think media is the best way to do da'wah. Because as what happened, as already happened, like a scholar, it's different between scholar who give speech inside of masjid and who do speech on YouTube or other kind of medias. Because in masjid, probably we can limit how many people can get into masjid, but only that is unlimited. Even the disbelievers, like for non-Muslim outside the countries, can watch and can learn from us through media. Because media limitless. I mean, like there's no limitation. We can share Islamic knowledge as much as possible. I think the best way to do da'wah is we must be very active in social media, but not to forget, we need to learn more before we deliver something on social media, because people sometimes they have no time, they have no chance to ask us directly what we deliver. So it's very important to filter out what we should be delivered. I think that's it.
Okay. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said, "Laqad kana lakum fi Rasulillahi uswatun hasanatun liman kana yarjullaha wal yawmal akhir wa dhakara Allaha katsiran."
Sorry, I cannot hear it.
Please translate.
I cannot hear it.
لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. This verse is the best method for da'wah. Translate this ayat.
Sorry, can you repeat again? I think this time is better when the sounds came from there. Can you repeat the ayat again?
لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا.
Very famous.
Okay, so actually, like
Translate it.
Oh, okay. It has been a very good example on your Prophet Muhammad SAW. If you believe in Allah and Rasulullah, you believe in the hereafter. Yeah.
وذكر الله كثيرا. وذكر الله كثيرا.
And mention Allah as much as possible.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bagaimana dengan juri? Kita sudah masuk di azan maghrib. Apa kita akan rehat sejenak? Bagaimana, Prof? Rehat ya. Berapa menit, Prof? 30. Lama 15. Baik, ini kita sudah di waktunya azan maghrib 17.30. Untuk peserta berikutnya nanti kita akan tampil tepat di 18.30. Jadi teman-teman boleh sholat maghrib dan juga makan malam dulu. Nanti kita kembali, dan peserta yang sudah tampil kami tidak perkenankan untuk kembali ke kamar, tapi tetap di area ballroom. Silakan. Bagi teman-teman dari kategori pelajar juga silakan jika tetap ingin ada di ruangan ini dan untuk menyaksikan penampilan teman-teman yang tampil hari ini. Baik, silakan. Sampai berjumpa di pukul 18.30.
Yes,